If you think you have the whole story on Durk and OTF, there's a lot more beneath. When loyalty turns deadly, even the tightest crews can unravel. Lil Durk's world isn't just built on fame and success, but also held together by loyalty and the unspoken rules of the streets. Recently, a story has surfaced that takes loyalty to its breaking point, and OTF member's baby mama lost her life, apparently as part of a brutal response. The FBI's belief that Durk's associate OTF Jam could hold vital information that could finally bring Durk down in this complex web of accusations is some believe that the rapper may have ordered the murder of Jam's child's mother, Octavia Redmond. The surface keeps observing things that are about to get intense, catching a snitch following Lil Durk's recent arrest by U.S. Marshals in Florida. A wave of theories has emerged suggesting that the rapper might be tied to a string of violent crimes. Among the most controversial claims, a brutal warning to keep him silent. Durk's recent legal issues started with his arrest on October 24th on charges related to a murder-for-hire plot against Atlanta rapper Quando Rondo, but that's just the beginning. Online speculation quickly spread, with many connecting the arrest to other mysterious killings, including those of Octavia Redmond and Stephon Mack. These connections are painting a disturbing picture of alleged retribution and cover-ups, though official reports are yet to be released. The circumstances involving Octavia Redmond provide a whole new degree of tragedy to the narrative. The mother of OTF Jam was just out working her route as a postal worker in South Chicago when she was ambushed and shot in broad daylight in July 2024. Her death was reported shortly after she was taken to the hospital. To make things even more disturbing, Now he's facing the justice system in Chicago, but people are not convinced this is where the story ends. The getaway car was found burned out nearby, with surveillance capturing a masked figure fleeing in a stolen car. It's a reminder of how real these street tactics are when they're not just lyrics. And then a couple of months later, police in Iowa arrested a 15-year-old boy in connection with her murder, charging him with felony first-degree murder. Custody rumors suggest Mack's murder may also be part of a larger picture, possibly another piece of the puzzle surrounding Durk's inner circle and how tightly they keep things under wraps, adding more fuel to the speculation. A recent video surfaced showing OTF Jam allegedly wearing a wire around Lil Durk. The clip shows Durk, Jam, and a few others in a dimly lit room chatting casually and even appearing to talk to someone over the phone, but fans noticed something off about Jam. He seemed tense and uncomfortable, and it didn't go. If Jam was indeed working with the federal government, then it wouldn't just be a quick setup. He would have been recording for a while, building a case that could dig deep into Durk's operations. Observers have pointed out that if Jam's crew missed his unusual behavior, they would have overlooked a significant betrayal, and if it is true, it speaks volumes about the out to Durk asking for help with a lawyer to support Jam. According to Trenches, Durk allegedly brushed her off, and that cold shoulder might have cut deeper than anyone realized, leaving Jam with a sense of betrayal that may have pushed him to cooperate with law enforcement. Trenches broke it down for academics, explaining that when Jam's baby mama asked Durk for legal help, Jam expected the rapper to come through, especially given all the loyalty he'd shown OTF, but when Durk allegedly ignored the plea, it reportedly sparked a "understood, you take care of them, period." It's survival code. Trenches suggested that Durk not standing by Jam may have been the reason Jam decided to flip, realizing he wasn't going to get the backing he thought he earned after all his years of loyalty. Did 12 years, 12 got out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000, right? This isn't no smut on his name. He ain't never been a rat, caught a gun case, but eventually he flipped. Even Whack 100 had something to say about it on his show, claiming Jam started working with the feds shortly after he got out in 2022, right around the same time Durk's issues with the death of Lil Pop started heating up. In this world, loyalty is like currency, and one betrayal can send shockwaves. The fans are seeing this as more than just a falling out. It's like a real-life chess game with stakes that reach all the way back to the streets. For those who know the history between Jam and Durk, this supposed betrayal hits deep. Jam once credited Durk with helping him make it through those long years inside. After Durk's recent arrest, an old 2023 interview of Jam with DJ Jerry has started circulating, and it's got everyone rethinking things. In that interview, Jam reflected on how strong his bond with Durk was. He talked about how Durk's support wasn't just about money. Durk's music was a lifeline that kept them connected even behind bars. Durk's tracks would play at their gathering, lifting everyone's spirit and bringing some sense of community and normalcy in an environment that felt anything but. Jam remembered, Lil Durk's story is one of loyalty, brotherhood, and the heavy toll of living under the weight of the streets. At the core of his rise to fame is a network of close relationships, forged long before the money and the spotlight ever came. Among these connections was his bond with OTF Jam, a figure Durk reportedly saw as more than just an associate or label signee. To Durk, Jam was a brother, a connection rooted in their shared struggles and mutual loyalty. This was a bond that extended through trials, hardships, and even a 12-year prison sentence Jam endured, during which Durk reportedly provided stability and a lifeline. However, recent allegations have sent shockwaves through Durk's inner circle and beyond. Reports suggest that the very brotherhood Durk nurtured with OTF Jam may have been compromised in the most devastating way. If the rumors are to be believed, Jam, who once publicly expressed gratitude for Durk's support during his incarceration, allegedly cooperated with federal authorities to build a case against him. For fans and insiders, the possibility of such a betrayal feels like a gut punch, casting doubt on whether bonds forged through loyalty and hardship can withstand the pressure of survival in the harsh realities of the streets. The accusations surrounding Jam's involvement have deepened a web of controversy that already surrounds Durk. Allegedly, Jam provided crucial assistance to federal agents investigating a shooting tied to Quando Rondo, a violent episode that led to the death of Rondo's cousin. The incident is reportedly connected to a retaliatory plot stemming from the tragic murder of King Von in 2020, one of Durk's closest friends and collaborators. According to reports, authorities claim that Durk orchestrated a murder-for-hire scheme, offering a bounty on Rondo's life as a way of avenging Von's death. If these allegations prove true, the fallout could be devastating. Not only would Durk face serious legal consequences, but the very foundation of his reputation as a leader and loyal brother would be shaken. Jam's alleged cooperation has added fuel to the fire, leaving many to question how such a relationship steeped in trust and mutual respect could fracture so completely. For fans, the image of Jam as someone who once considered Durk a lifeline now feels tainted. His reported actions paint a stark picture of survival at any cost, even if it means betraying someone who once provided unwavering support. Jam's recent interview, though not directly addressing the accusations, added further layers to this unfolding drama. He spoke of a deep brotherly bond with Durk, a connection that now seems irreparably damaged. While his words hinted at shared memories and unshakable camaraderie, the shadow of betrayal loomed large over the conversation. It's this juxtaposition between the warmth of their past and the cold reality of the present that has left fans and insiders alike grappling with what might come next. As the story continues to unfold, many are bracing for the possibility of additional revelations. Reports suggest that the federal case against Durk may be part of a broader investigation, potentially linking him to other violent incidents and organized activities. But if true, this would only deepen the legal and personal challenges he faces, painting a grim picture of the price of retaliation and the consequences of living by the code of the streets. In the court of public opinion, this alleged betrayal and the charges against Durk highlight the fragile nature of trust and loyalty in a world defined by survival. Fans who once celebrated Durk as a symbol of resilience and leadership are now left questioning the very values they admired. Can the bonds built through years of loyalty and brotherhood truly survive when survival itself is on the line? For Durk and those close to him, the answer to that question may determine not only his future but also the legacy he leaves behind. Arrested in Florida and is currently held without bond at Broward County Jail alongside him. 5 members of his crew identified as part of his OTF group were also apprehended. Crew members Keon London, Grant DeAndre, Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan, Lindsay, and Asa Houston now face charges in connection with the murder-for-hire scheme, as well as other serious allegations. Additionally, Durk's family members were detained in California, suggesting the operation spanned multiple states, according to the indictment filed on October 17th. The alleged motive traces back to a fight that erupted in November 2020 at an Atlanta nightclub. During this incident, King Von, referred to as DB in court documents, was fatally shot by LOLL Tim, an associate of Quando Rondo, following V's death. Federal authorities say a bounty was issued on Tim's life, aiming to exact revenge for V's killing in August 2022 after learning of Tim's location at a Los Angeles hotel. Durk's crew allegedly traveled to California to carry out the plot, joined by a second co-conspirator. They tracked him with 2 vehicles, but the attempt tragically claimed the life of Salva Robinson, Rondo's cousin, instead, along with the murder-for-hire accusations. Durk and his associates are also charged with weapons-related offenses, including the use, possession, and discharge of firearms and machine guns during a violent crime that resulted in death so far. Durk's team has remained silent on the allegations, and no official statement has been made regarding the ongoing investigation as Durk battles serious charges of attempted murder. His past ties with Chicago's Black Disciples gang are coming back into the spotlight. Durk joined the Black Disciples after dropping out of high school in 2009, a pivotal moment in his life that shaped both his personal and professional journey. His music career was closely intertwined with his introduction to the world of Chicago street gangs, specifically the Black Disciples. In 2009, Durk joined the Black Disciples after dropping out of high school, a decision that not only shaped his music but also influenced much of his life. Outside it, he remains connected to the gang alongside figures like Lil Reese, Chief Keef, and the late King Val and Fredo Santana. Raised in Chicago's Inglewood neighborhood, Durk was exposed to gang culture from an early age. At 17, he became a father, a life change that gave him the motivation to pursue a serious music career. During this time, he was attending Paul Robeson High School but ultimately chose to drop out, joining the Black Disciples. Soon after, Durk became part of one of Chicago's largest and Most influential street gangs tragedies have often accompanied Durk's path, particularly in recent years. In 2020, a conflict involving gang violence escalated, resulting in the death of Durk's older brother Dean. These personal losses, coupled with ongoing legal troubles, have kept Durk's ties to the Black Disciples and the violence surrounding Chicago's gang scene in the spotlight. Lil Durk's recent legal battles have once again put a spotlight on his ties to Chicago's infamous gang world, particularly the Black Disciples, with whom he's been associated with since his teenage years. This isn't his first brush with the law, but rather part of a long history that seems to intertwine music, gang loyalty, and a reputation built on reality rap. Over the years, Durk, along with his OTF crew and members of the Black Disciples, has faced serious accusations, with federal cases now linking them to violent acts, including high-profile hits like the murder of rival rapper FBG Duck. His early years in Englewood, a tough neighborhood on Chicago's South Side, exposed him to gang culture, and by the time he was 17, he was already immersed in that world. Durk's gang affiliation became more evident as his rap career took off, and his record quickly filled with gun-related charges. Back in 2011, Durk was first arrested on a weapons charge, marking the beginning of a troubled relationship with the law. He eventually pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of aggravated unauthorized use of a weapon, but this was just the beginning. Released on bond, only to later serve 3 months in jail, he found himself in even more serious difficulty 2 years later. Fast forward to June 2013, when police once again caught Durk with a pistol at 3 a.m. in the 7200 block of South Green Street in Englewood. Officers responded to reports of a man with a gun. As they approached, Durk was spotted tossing a loaded .40 caliber handgun into his car in a quick attempt to hide it. He was arrested on the spot and charged with unlawful use of a weapon by a felon, facing significant legal consequences yet again. His lawyer, arguing his innocence, presented multiple affidavits claiming the gun wasn't his. Durk spent over a month in jail before being released in July 2013, but this wouldn't be the last time he'd face felony charges. Durk's criminal record only grew over the years, shaping his reputation both in the streets and the rap game. In 2016, he was arrested for a probation violation tied to previous felony gun charges, which were later dropped. Then, in 2019, he got into even deeper water with his close friend and collaborator King Von. Prosecutors claimed that the two had been involved in a robbery and shooting outside an Atlanta drive-in, allegedly jacking a man for his Jeep Cherokee and $30,000. Both Durk and Von were locked up briefly, with Durk posting a hefty $250,000 bond. Though the charges against him were dismissed in 2022, the incident highlighted the tight but often chaotic bond between Durk and Vow, two friends tied together by shared history, loyalty, and gang affiliations that ran deep. Durk's connections go beyond just Vow. He is ingrained across the entire Chicago rap scene, where alliances and rivalries often blur the line between music and the streets. Lil Durk's rise in the rap world was not just about music, it was deeply intertwined with the culture and reality of Chicago's gang scene. Running alongside figures like Chief Keef and Lil Reese, Durk became part of a movement that put Chicago drill music on the map. These weren't just collaborators or peers, they were allies in a world where loyalty often equated to survival. Chief Keef, for instance, wasn't just a pioneer of drill music, he was a name synonymous with the Black Disciples, particularly the Lamron faction. This crew, named after Normal Boulevard in Englewood, reflected the neighborhood's gritty reality and its influence on the music. For Durk, alliances like these offered protection and authenticity but came at a heavy cost. Being associated with the Black Disciples cemented Durk's street credibility, but it also tethered him to a violent cycle that loomed over Chicago's drill scene. The ties were as dangerous as they were beneficial. The city's gang wars weren't just a backdrop, they were a lived experience that bled into the music, lyrics, and personas of its rappers. This dual-edged existence was thrust into the national spotlight in 2012 with the murder of Joseph Lil Jojo Coleman, a young rapper whose defiance of the Black Disciples was as bold as it was dangerous. Lil Jojo's taunts were not subtle. Declaring himself BDK or Black Disciples Killer, Jojo openly antagonized the gang in his music, taking shots at rivals and amplifying tensions within Chicago's already volatile streets. His actions made him a target, and on a fateful day, while riding through the Woodlawn neighborhood on the back of a bike, Jojo was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. The murder sent shockwaves through the city and beyond, making national headlines and spotlighting the deadly intersection of rap and gang culture in Chicago. The aftermath of Jojo's death revealed just how deeply intertwined the city's music scene was with its street wars. Chief Keef, then rapidly rising in fame, added fuel to the fire by seemingly mocking Jojo's death on Twitter with a post that read, "Ha ha 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 ha." Though Keef later claimed his account had been hacked, the damage was done. The tweet underscored the pervasive animosity between rival factions and highlighted the murky line between entertainment and real-life violence. Chicago's drill scene wasn't just entertainment, it was a battlefield, and the stakes were all too real. The cycle of violence didn't end there. In 2020, the murder of Durk, another prominent Chicago rapper and rival of the Black Disciples, reignited tensions in a grim reminder of the consequences of gang affiliations. Durk was shot and killed in broad daylight outside a Dolce & Gabbana store in the city's upscale Gold Coast neighborhood. His death shocked many, not just because of its brazenness, but because it brought the violence that plagued Chicago's impoverished neighborhoods into one of its wealthiest areas. The incident highlighted the inescapable reach of Chicago's gang wars, even as rappers like Durk and Durk continued to find fame on a national and global stage. While these events were headlines, Durk saw them as reminders of the dangers of his affiliations. His ties to the Black Disciples and his connections to figures like Chief Keef were not just about shared musical vision, they were about survival in a world where alliances could mean the difference between life and death. Yet, these same connections kept him tethered to a legacy of violence that has haunted Chicago's drill scene from the start. As Durk's career soared, he worked to distance himself from the darkest aspects of his past. Yet, the streets of Chicago and the legacy of gang ties continued to cast a long shadow over his music and his life. The murders of Lil Jojo, Durk, and countless others tied to Chicago's drill scene serve as tragic reminders of how deeply interconnected rap and gang culture can be. For Durk, the challenge remains: can he rise above the violence and pain that shaped his beginnings, or will the streets he came from always pull him back? Gold Company Area, the hit, wasn't just about Durk, it was a message, one that left 2 bystanders injured, including Durk's own girlfriend. The murder rattled the Chicago hip-hop world and fueled rumors that a $100,000 bounty had been placed on Durk's life, allegedly backed by members of the Black Disciples, possibly with ties to Durk's own camp. This wasn't just street-level retaliation, it was a well-organized hit that shook the entire Chicago gang landscape. Earlier this year, 6 gang members from the O Block faction of the Black Disciples were convicted of Durk's murder, adding yet another layer to the complex ties between music and gang rivalries in the city. In October 2024, Durk's mother, Elle Weekly, took the battle to court by filing a wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk, OTF Records, and major music labels like Sony and EONG. In scope, not a day goes by that I don't think about him. Her lawsuit claims that these companies have not only turned a blind eye to the violence but actively profited from it, leading a culture of gang rivalry and violence for the sake of authenticity and profit. According to her attorney, Roosevelt Allen, the label saw the authenticity of gang culture as a marketable asset, and by encouraging artists deeply involved in street conflicts, they essentially funded and fueled the cycle of violence. Allen accused the labels of creating brands out of real-life gang warfare, pouring money into artists whose lives and music are entrenched in Chicago's gang culture. It's a serious accusation that's raised a lot of questions about the role of the music industry in promoting violence. Weekly's lawsuit suggests that labels didn't just passively benefit from the drama but actively developed, financed, and profited from an environment where violent rivalries could be marketed as real. This lawsuit cuts deep into the heart of the reality rap scene that Durk and his peers represent, challenging whether the industry should be held accountable for the consequences of turning gang life into commercial success. The suit also claims that Durk and his label not only knew about King Von's vendetta against Durk, but actively fostered an image of violence through reality rap. According to Allen, they understood that controversy, beefs, and notoriety were good for driving increased record sales streams and views, and so didn't do anything to control the violent content associated with OTF and the Black Disciples. In a broader sense, the lawsuit represents a growing outcry against the commercialization of gang violence within the music industry, questioning how far labels will go for profit. Durk's ties to the streets and his long rap sheet are like this constant shadow over his career. He's balancing on a razor's edge between the fame he's built and the street life he's repping. It's that history in the gang scene that gives his lyrics real weight. You feel the struggle and loyalty, but it also makes you wonder, has he ever really left that life behind, or is he still caught up in it, just on a bigger stage? It's like his past and his music are so intertwined that one doesn't exist without the other. As the rapper sits in Broward County Jail without bail awaiting further legal proceedings, his past affiliations and lifestyle choices are under intense scrutiny. However, the FBI had been steadily gathering evidence, carefully building a strong case that eventually led to his conviction. Their thorough investigation left no room for doubt, making sure they had everything they needed to secure the conviction: life in jail. The level of detail behind the case is intense, as the feds didn't just pull up out of nowhere. They had been watching and listening closely, building their case step by step with tapped surveillance footage and financial records, all painting a picture that's hard to ignore. According to court documents, federal agents used everything at their disposal, tracking phone calls, monitoring messages, and keeping a close eye on Durk's associates' movements. What really sets this case apart is the extensive network of surveillance used to connect the dots. Authorities claim that Durk, through his label and connections, allegedly funded flights for his associates to California with those flights booked under his company's name. This wasn't just casual business, it added a clear trail of financial evidence that the feds are now using against him. They even connected these flights with specific timestamps and tracked each move his people made, tracing their steps back through LA's camera systems and security feeds after the alleged incident. Surveillance reportedly captured some of Durk's crew talking about payments with plans to head back to Chicago. Lil Durk's rise in the rap world was not just about music, it was deeply intertwined with the culture and reality of Chicago's gang scene. Running alongside figures like Chief Keef and Lil Reese, Durk became part of a movement that put Chicago drill music on the map. These weren't just collaborators or peers, they were allies in a world where loyalty often equated to survival. Chief Keef, for instance, wasn't just a pioneer of drill music, he was a name synonymous with the Black Disciples, particularly the Lamron faction. This crew, named after Normal Boulevard in Inglewood, reflected the neighborhood's gritty reality and its influence on the music. For Durk, alliances like these offered protection and authenticity but came at a heavy cost. Being associated with the Black Disciples cemented Durk's street credibility, but it also tethered him to a violent cycle that loomed over Chicago's drill scene. The ties were as dangerous as they were beneficial. The city's gang wars weren't just a backdrop, they were a lived experience that bled into the music, lyrics, and personas of its rappers. This dual-edged existence was thrust into the national spotlight in 2012 with the murder of Joseph Lil Jojo Coleman, a young rapper whose defiance of the Black Disciples was as bold as it was dangerous. Lil Jojo's taunts were not subtle. Declaring himself BDK or Black Disciples Killer, Jojo openly antagonized the gang in his music, taking shots at rivals and amplifying tensions within Chicago's already volatile streets. His actions made him a target, and on a fateful day, while riding through the Woodlawn neighborhood on the back of a bike, Jojo was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. The murder sent shockwaves through the city and beyond, making national headlines and spotlighting the deadly intersection of rap and gang culture in Chicago. The aftermath of Jojo's death revealed just how deeply intertwined the city's music scene was with its street wars. Chief Keef, then rapidly rising in fame, added fuel to the fire by seemingly mocking Jojo's death on Twitter with a post that read, "Ha ha 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 ha." Though Keef later claimed his account had been hacked, the damage was done. The tweet underscored the pervasive animosity between rival factions and highlighted the murky line between entertainment and real-life violence. Chicago's drill scene wasn't just entertainment, it was a battlefield, and the stakes were all too real. The cycle of violence didn't end there. In 2020, the murder of FBG Duck, another prominent Chicago rapper and rival of the Black Disciples, reignited tensions in a grim reminder of the consequences of gang affiliations. Duck was shot and killed in broad daylight outside a Dolce Gabbana store in the city's upscale Gold Coast neighborhood. His death shocked many, not just because of its brazenness, but because it brought the violence that plagued Chicago's impoverished neighborhoods into one of its wealthiest areas. The incident highlighted the inescapable reach of Chicago's gang wars, even as rappers like Duck and Durk continued to find fame on a national and global stage. While these events were headlines, Durk saw them as reminders of the dangers of his affiliations. His ties to the Black Disciples and his connections to figures like Chief Keef were not just about shared musical vision, they were about survival in a world where alliances could mean the difference between life and death. Yet these same connections kept him tethered to a legacy of violence that has haunted Chicago's drill scene from the start. As Durk's career soared, he worked to distance himself from the darkest aspects of his past. Yet the streets of Chicago and the legacy of gang ties continued to cast a long shadow over his music and his life. The murders of Lil Jojo, FBG Duck, and countless others tied to Chicago's drill scene serve as tragic reminders of how deeply interconnected rap and gang culture can be. For Durk, the challenge remains: can he rise above the violence and pain that shaped his beginnings, or will the streets he came from always pull him back? And loyalty, repping Chicago's roughest neighborhoods and living that life, but now that he's behind bars, his fans are left questioning what's next, and many are already starting to worry that this could be the end of the road for Durk's career. The timing couldn't have been worse. Durk was just on stage at the United Center days before, performing in front of thousands, holding it down as one of Chicago's most influential voices in hip-hop, but only a few days later, the Fed swooped in, catching him near the airport as he was reportedly preparing to flee the country. The news hit fans hard for years. Durk's music has been a reflection of street life, loyalty, and survival, and now it feels like that world has caught up to him. Social media is buzzing with fans expressing their frustrations and fears for Durk. They're worried about what his absence means for OTF, the label he built from the ground up. Durk was the anchor, the one who brought OTF into the mainstream, and now with him in jail, fans are concerned about the future of the whole movement. Will OTF be able to stand strong without Durk at the helm, or will his absence shake the foundation? Some longtime fans are even saying Durk's choices have finally caught up to him, calling it a self-fulfilling prophecy. He's been rapping about this life for years, putting it all into his music, the loyalty, the struggles, the pain, and now, in a twist that feels like something out of his own lyrics, he's facing the consequences head-on. It's as if the very themes he built his career on have come full circle for those who believed in Durk, who saw him as more than just a rapper but as someone who turned his life around. The news stings even more. They feel like this might be the final chapter, that his career might not survive the weight of federal charges and the mounting evidence against him. Fans who looked up to him and saw him rise from the streets to success are now left hoping this isn't the end, but bracing themselves in case it is. The legal impact of these murder-for-hire charges against Lil Durk could extend far beyond his personal freedom.